Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blind Girls Book Talk podcast. My name is Aria.
And I'm Belle.
And we are here to just talk about random bookish topics because we love to read, as you can tell by the title of everything. And so we just wanted to kind of start a talk so that way we can go over our recent reads, things that we love about books, things that, we wish could change about books, that kind of thing. This show is going to be more of a variety show, I will say, of just different bookish content, that spans from like reviews to comparing books to movies to some maybe book theories, that kind of thing. So that will be kind of coming down the line. But today is our inaugural episode of this podcast. And so we are just kind of here to introduce ourselves to you, as well as, so that way you kind of know who we are and kind of where we're coming from. So I will go ahead and start. So like I said, my name is Aria. Genre-wise for books, I love fiction, fantasy, magic, any of those kind of books, which, of course, there is no video with this, luckily, because Belle just kind of stuck her tongue out at me, because that is definitely not her cup of tea. I do also dabble in the mystery genre as well, but, that is kind of my basis of books that I like. And then Belle can go ahead and introduce hers and tell us a little bit about herself.
As my lovely older sister said, I'm Belle. I pretty much read mainly the classics. That's my personal favorite genre. I am not really a fantasy person, although I do enjoy the mysteries, murder mysteries to be specific. And that's really about it for me.
Now, Belle did mention, yes, we are sisters. I don't think I said that in my little intro. Forgive me. We're figuring this out as we go. But yes, so we are sisters. I will say too that, of course it is in the title, we are both legally blind. This, is just kind of something that we wanted to do and talk about. And even though we do have vision problems, we do both love reading. So I guess the next thing would be to talk about what some of our favorite books are. Now, we do also have a blog called the Blind Girls Book Blog. If you haven't checked that out, feel free. We do have kind of some content on there already that, we have talked about, where I have kind of gone over my favorite books and my favorite series. Belle has only gone over her favorite series because she's very bad at picking her favorite books.
Okay, hold on. In my defense, I am a college student, so I only have the books in front of me available.
This is true. So yes, I can't be too hard on you, but at the same time, you have a hard time picking your favorite books.
You're asking me to pick my favorite child.
We both do see kind of our books as our children, which is very strange, I know, probably saying that out loud, but I feel like a lot of readers do very much care about the books that they read, of course, their physical copies, as well as the characters that are within the pages of the books. Belle, what are some of your favorite books?
Such a hard question. So my main ones that I'd have to say are my favorite are, of course, Northanger Abbey and Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, both of which I thoroughly adore. I also love The Book Thief and I Am the Messenger by Marcus Zusak. Those are, his writing just touches my soul.
Yes, I agree. Those are some of my favorites.
Let's see, what else? What else have I read? Ooh, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. It's so good. Everybody should read it at least once in your life. If not, you need to get on that, like, pronto.
Well, any specific reason why that book is one of your favorites?
It has so many life lessons that I think are important for everybody to know. I don't want to... Do I spoil or not to spoil?
Don't spoil it for anybody who wants to read it for themselves.
It just has such good messages of equality and life through a child's eyes compared to adults, and it's so good. It's so good.
What about some of your favorite series?
Oh boy. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It as a person who reads a lot of mysteries and murder mysteries, that series has kept me on my toes the entire time. I've never been able to guess the ending, which, as a person who has read so many books, is really hard for me, because I'll get halfway and then I'm like, oh, I know how this is going to end, and I'll go to the last page and read, like, the last line. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty much how I thought that was going to go down. And I'm right, so then I'm just like, well, there's no point in reading the rest, especially if it's a mystery. But the plot twists are amazing. Highly recommend that one. I am also a big fan of the Sound and Silence? Storm and Silence? Oh boy.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at your shelf here and I do see Storm and Silence.
Storm something silence. I'm scatterbrained. I'm sorry. I'm studying and my brain does not work well. But that one is really good, as well as the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. Love those.
What is your favorite thing about the Stalking Jack the Ripper? I know you've been trying for ages to get me to read these books, but I'm sure, if anybody in our audience, hasn't read those, what makes you really like that series, as well as the Storm and Silence one, because you told me a little bit about that one, but not a lot. So elaborate a bit, shall you?
The Storm and Silence, I really like that one. Both series are set in Victorian England, which Aria can attest. I love anything set in Victorian England. It is my favorite.
This is true.
It's sad. But the Storm and Silence is pretty much about equality and this woman trying to get a job and keep her job when her employer, who knows she's a woman, once he finds out she's a woman, wants nothing to do with her and makes her dress up as a man and puts her through all these crazy tests and trials, and they go on ventures to keep his business from sinking. The banter is great. The Stalking Jack the Ripper, I really like, and I'm really trying to get Aria to read. What I like most about it is I'm a huge history buff, so I like how the author included real case facts when it comes to the Jack the Ripper killings. And the second book about Dracula, she includes a lot about the actual Prince Dracula, and the last book has a lot on H.H. Holmes, which is very factual, and it's so good. But Aria, she's scared of her own shadow. So
this is also very true. I am a big scaredy cat, which is why when it comes to mysteries for me, I do prefer books that are a little bit more on the lighthearted side. I prefer that kind of thing, especially when it comes to TV shows.
She's a wimp.
Yeah, I'm a wimp. I'm not a big CSI fan or anything like that. I prefer the ones that have a little bit of humor to them, like Psych or Bones, or any of those. But of course, we are not here to talk TV shows and movies. Today we're here to just talk about books. Since Belle here has kind of gone over hers, I will go over a little bit about some of my favorites. So Belle had mentioned the Marcus Zusak books, which Book Thief and I Am the Messenger, which both of those books I also adore. Book Thief was actually probably one of my top book for a very long time. It was one of the only books for a long time as well that I had read more than once, which is very rare for me. I'm not a big rereader. But for that one, loved it, needed to read it again.
She is actually the reason why I read The Buck Thief. Just putting that out
yes,
there.
Yeah, it is something, just the perception, or the point of view that it's told from, at the time that I read it when I was in high school, that for me, that was like a very different experience. I don't want to even really spoil that for anybody, just because it is so just not what you're used to, I would say. So that is kind of one of the reasons why I love that book, other than it's just an amazing book. But, that's one of the big reasons. Another couple books that I love are The Night Circus and The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstein. And I think that's how you say her name. I'm sorry. I might have mispronounced. And if we do mispronounce things, please forgive us. We kind of get used to saying things in our head one way, and we both know what we mean. But then we say it out loud, and then we realize that is not the correct pronunciation. So if that is the case, please forgive us. Please be patient with us. But both of those books, Night Circus is actually probably my top favorite book, because it is just the world that was created there is just, it's fantastic. Like, there has never been a book that I want to go and live in that world more than Night Circus. Like, I love it.
Agree. I completely disagree with that. I've read that book, and I just... the whole premise of it is just a duel to the death.
This is true. This is true. That is kind of part of it. But
the ending makes no sense.
We're gonna reread that one day, and I'm going to help Belle to understand here as to why it is amazing. But all that aside, that is a very good book. Starless Sea, also very, very good book. I kind of like for that one how there's a bunch of different storylines there that, they kind of wind their way together, which I just, anybody who can craft something like that, I applaud. I wish I had that skill. I do not. But it is, very, very interesting. Of course, I do also love Pride and Prejudice. Probably one of the few classics that I actually very much enjoy. And I read that one in high school for English, but it was one of the few school books that I loved. Howl's Moving Castle, another fantastic book. It is, even though it's kind of for younger audiences, sometimes, it seems like it can be intended for that. It's just such a neat world. Love the characters, love Sophie and Hal and Calcifer and all of them. They're just so much fun. And then another one that I love that I want to call attention to is Lore Olympus, which, yes, it is a webcomic. It just recently came out with a book version of it, and let me tell you, I'm very excited about it. It's very good. Another well, it's not really a genre, but another style of story that I love are just retellings of different classics, of different mythologies, of different stories, really. I think that retellings can be, very interesting to see what spin another person can put on it and that sort of thing. And so, that is part of the reason why I love Lore Olympus. The other reason is the story has been very good. Rachel, the creator of it, I cannot say her last name, and I'm not going to say it wrong. But she created a very in my opinion, a very cool way of looking at Olympus, Mount Olympus, the home of the gods, the underworld, like all of that is just, I think it's very interesting what she's done there.
I introduced her to that, and I have regretted life choices of doing so since, because she has not shut up about how much she loves it.
Yes, it is definitely one of my favorites. I love it. It's so good. A 10 out of 10 do recommend. You can find it for free on Webtoon is the app. Yes, I am going to promote it because it is so good. As for series-wise, I love The Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, I think is her last name. Love that series. People have called it Twilight for grown-ups. I disagree. I think there's a lot more to it. That series, another one that I actually have gone through and reread. So definitely enjoyed that one. Another one would be the Dresden Files. For those of you who haven't checked that one out, it is very, very good as well. There are a lot of books to it. I think it's up to like 16 or 17 right now, something like that. So there is a lot of content there.
I've also had to hear in depth so much about these, yet whenever I'm like, ooh, I really like this series, she shuts me down immediately. But I have heard in depth about this series.
Yes, she has, but it's I won't talk your ear off about that one, but it's very, very good. Some of the other ones too were actually Alice retellings, Alice in Wonderland retellings, the Splintered series. I forget the author of that one. That I think it's A.G. Howard, I want to say, if memory serves.
I think that's right.
I think that's right. That book those books are very fun. Definitely kind of more on the I want to say like YA side of things, but at the time that I read them, I was right in that demographic. So
I thought you read them when you were in college.
well, yeah, but you can read. I mean, anybody can be any age and read YA. Let's throw that out there right now. But it's YA, especially though in college, I think is a good time to be reading that series. Oh, and I was right, A.G. Howard. And then the Looking Glass Wars is another one, and Frank Beddor, Beddor. I'm so sorry. Again, pronunciations are not my friend sometimes. That series, another fantastic one. Definitely fun to see the different things that people do when it comes to retellings of these classic tales. All right, so at this point then we are about out of time for today. So we do want to thank you for listening to us talk about some of our favorites, some of the things we love, why we love them. Again, we just kind of wanted to introduce you to who we are, what we love, before we go into any sort of things for what we'll talk about in the future. If you liked the episode, of course, depending on where you're listening to, leave a review, like it, comment, if you can. If you're able to leave a review or anything like that to help us out.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. Share it with your friends and your family. Anybody who loves books, any fellow book lovers in your life, feel free to share it with them. And like I said, my name is Aria.
And my name is Mel.
And we will see you guys in the next episode, where we are going to go over some of the different Pride and Prejudice adaptations and whether or not they kind of stack up against their source material. So until next time, guys, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.